Welcome. In front of me I have a Huawei Mate 20 Pro, a fairly old device, but for the purpose that I'm trying to showcase right now, it should be good enough. So what I want to show off is the desktop support. When you plug your device to an actual monitor with a cable that is plugged into the display. So I do have a Dell monitor right here that has a Type-C input for all video. As you can see, there's one end of it, and all I need to really do is take my phone, slap it in here, automatically begins charging, and also you can see EMUI desktop, and it turns on a desktop. Now this showcase is strictly for people that are interested in it, and what it does is basically turns your device into a desktop. Now, apart from it automatically turning into a touchpad right here, so you can actually use a touchpad, you can still connect your, if you have some kind of Bluetooth mouse, connect it to your phone. Also, if you have a Bluetooth keyboard, you can do that as well, which I do. And you could basically close this off on your phone and use your phone normally as you would do normally, just while it's charging. Now, if you unplug it, it will disconnect from here, so you do have to keep it plugged in. But you can basically do anything else, so make calls and stuff like that on your phone while still using it as a desktop, assuming you have all the accessories plugged in. Now, if you're using just a keyboard, you will probably need to run a touchpad on your phone itself for all this to be actually usable. And as you can see, there's my touchpad now, and it works fairly well. I'm gonna flip it over a little bit if I actually can. Give me a second. There we go, auto rotate, and there we go. So as you can see right now, this is my Huawei desktop, and from here you can launch apps if you want to. It does support multi-finger gestures, so once you open up any kind of app, let's do something like maps for instance. So as you can see, there are some maps. Let me put it in full screen. There we go. As you can see, it works fairly well. I can use it normally as you do on your phone. You can change it, and then we have the gesture. So if I grab it in, you can basically do anything as you would normally do. Works really smooth. There is almost no lag behind it, as you can see. And it works really well, honestly. I was genuinely surprised by how well this feature works and how little Huawei is actually advertising it. I know Samsung is doing the same thing, and I'm not sure if there's any other devices that do this, but well, Huawei is most certainly one of them, and honestly it works really well. Now also one thing that I will mention, the benefit over the Samsung. On Huawei you can actually record screen, meaning you can record on this screen. Something that I couldn't find on the Samsung devices, and I do have, I was testing this with the newest Note 20, so not really sure what the deal there was. Now moving further, anything like browser works just fine, as you can see. The only downside that I found right now using this is when you're starting to type, even though you have a plugged-in keyboard, you'll see, or I guess we won't see, apparently it's not popping it up anymore, but I did have a problem where I was typing it and it was opening up the on-screen keyboard right here, so I could kind of do it with my mouse. Not sure why that was happening, and now it's not, but I actually didn't change anything, so I'm not sure if you open up Chrome just to see if that was maybe default of the Chrome. Let's open up Google. Nope, it's still not opening up keyboard, but I did have a problem with it at one moment, and the keyboard was plugged in, so I'm not sure what was happening there. Now I'll also mention, this is my phone and I am logged in on the device itself, on Google and all that stuff, while when I plug it into the desktop you can see that I am not signed in, so I assume it is creating another in a way another device that is semi-separate from the rest. Things like photos and any kind of data that is on your device can still access it by opening it up, but apparently accounts are, well, logged out. And also moving further to apps, you basically limit it to the apps that are well, in the App Store, and also add that not every one of them works. So as an example, there's some games here. If I try to, for instance, launch a game that isn't supported, it just kind of quits it, all right? But there are also games that, let's say, are supported, but that might be an overstatement. I did have, there we go. This is in a way supported. You can go to full screen and it will work, or maybe not full screen. If you go into full screen, it breaks, right? But let's quickly wait for it to actually load up. And while it's doing that, we can see some other stuff. So you can see that it's showing me all the apps. Not exactly sure how most of them, how well they work. Probably apps that don't really require much will work just fine. So let's see something like a music player. So I can start playing normally music from here. Let's see, let's try putting something that isn't copyrighted. I'm actually disconnecting my headphones. So once I disconnect them, there we go, there is some sound coming off. Let's just get rid of this, there we go. And it kind of did just break for some reason. As you can see, there is the problem with it. For some reason tries to, right now thinks that it's smaller and everything just kind of breaks. It doesn't happen if you actually let the game load fully, but it does happen nonetheless. And for some reason a couple things just broke because of it. So as you can see, it's not necessarily flawless. And the apps, majority of the apps weren't really ever designed to work like this, and they do kind of fail at times. So let's try that again. So apparently if I try to launch this song, it just completely breaks. Now also I'll probably mention that launching the default apps that came with the device will most certainly have a better result than trying to do it on custom apps like I am. Let's give it one last shot and try to do it differently. Oh, now it's playing. So as you can hear. So it still, by the way, functions as a touchpad, so nothing's changed here. And yeah, I can basically minimize this, completely forget about it, launch other stuff. Like I said, works virtually like a desktop. Now let's go to this and see if it actually can function correctly. So now this is just a complete showcase, not planning to do much, and just to show you how or that it runs. And this is, well, one out of two things that I've tried. So if I press resume, it will start loading. As you can see, it looks fine right now. I think it looks fine as long as you open up the game basically in full screen. As it is right now, it will look normally. So let's just wait for this to actually pass. As you can see, it runs super smooth. There's no problem here. And just as you can see, it works completely as you would expect. You can basically press, and it actually works really well in the desktop mode, I would say, considering this game was it was kind of designed for the PC, but this is basically a port for the phone, and it works really nice, honestly. So moving out of this one, so yeah, basically not much more to say here. I guess I would be repeating myself. majority of the apps that comes preloaded will work just fine. Probably a decent amount of the apps that are maybe a little bit more complex probably will not, and will be crashing or just working in a kind of buggy state. So keep that in mind. But apart from that, if you're planning to, for instance, use this as a desktop to browse web, maybe write something, use the default things like WordPad that is basically built in and stuff like that, then this is working, well, flawlessly in a way. And I'm really surprised by myself how polished, maybe not the best word for this, considering it does crash sometimes, but I would assume, or maybe not this crash, but games and apps crash as you've seen on the video even. But I assume this is just a fault of the app itself rather than this desktop kind of mode. And in the desktop mode, as you've seen, majority of the apps that come, like browser, still is open and works fine. And it is fairly pleasant, the experience, I would say. I would also like to have a mouse for this because one that I have is kind of, well, not very good, or it doesn't work correctly. But when you connect a mouse to your device, it will create a pointer even on your mouse if it's not in a desktop mode. And in a desktop mode, you will just have a normal usability of a mouse as you're used to on your computer. But finishing this off, it's a really nice feature. Sad that Huawei isn't actually advertising it a little bit further. And also a little bit of a downside is the fact that you need to have a monitor that is compatible with it. So you either need a cable, Type-C to Type-C, to basically plug it into a monitor if you do have a Type-C even port in your monitor, or you need some kind of conversion to basically DisplayPort or HDMI to Type-C, which majority of the people, I assume, including me, don't actually have that lying around just casually. So you either are forced to, in a way, use it and you want to, so you get stuff for it, or you kind of have it on your phone but never get to use it. But if you found this very helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.